We're rolling. Welcome back. Thanks for checking me out. I appreciate it. It's nice to be back on. I haven't been doing too many videos lately, so I feel a little out of practice. I don't know what this is. Um, but I've had some really fun, interesting dreams recently, so I thought I'd share a few. I had a very special guest today. Kim Carey from Intuitive You was in Buffalo. She was on the East Coast, visiting some other folks, and I invited her. Well, Kim was going to sing on one of my new songs, which I sent to her where she lives on the West Coast, and we were trying to figure out how we would do it, like whether she would, record a vocal there somewhere and then just send it to me here because you can do that now digitally. And then she said that she was going to be on the on the East Coast soon, and I said, "Hey, I know a long shot, but if you got a few hours and you want to pop into Buffalo, we could record several songs." And she said yes, which is awesome. So she came in this afternoon, and we worked on. Kim sang on three of my newer songs. I am very slow with studio work. I must apologize. And sorry, I also apologize for being distracted with the fuzzies on my pants. I'm very slow with working on studio projects. They just take however long they take. But we did capture vocals for three songs that she sang with me on, and they sound really good. She has a beautiful voice. And I'm like, man, you should be singing. And of course, she used to be a professional singer, and I have a feeling that she'll have another project again at some point because I can tell that she loves it as much as she loves all of the psychic stuff that she's up to, which has really grown over the last bunch of years. So that was really a treat. And I was also at a separate recording studio in Buffalo last night with another couple friends doing some stuff. So I feel like I'm been in the creative world pretty deep, which is probably why I had so many dreams. Because when I mean, like you know how life flows, and like you've got practical things to do, daily life stuff, and then you have time maybe for more creative endeavors. And whenever the creative side of me is sort of indulged a little more, then it's like the whole thing, my whole spirit, I guess, comes alive in some sense, and it seems to activate new more. The more I'm in the creative zone, the more ideas I have about all kinds of creative projects, or just all kinds of interesting subjects. Like I'm reawakened, if you will. And so I think that's where maybe the dreams kicked in last night. So, and the night before. I told Kim about one of them. I've been dreaming a lot of being alive like 100 years ago. You may have recalled me saying that if you've watched any of my other recent videos. And again, still dreaming, having those dreams, and keep dreaming about kind of being in a small town, and but being very hyper aware of everyone's feelings in the town, like almost like I can read their minds, read their thoughts, and I have a strong sense with everyone I meet in this town of like who can be trusted, who could be a friend, who could be an ally, who is probably untrustworthy, who might be an enemy or someone working against me, and the interrelationships of people in the town are like apparent to me when I meet them. And I don't know why this is sort of recurring because I never really had dreams like this years ago. It's more like within the last couple years. And as we were talking about, well, Kim and I talked about a bunch of different things over lunch before we did the recording, but we did talk a little bit about dreams towards the end of the day, and she wondered if it's, sometimes it's said that the belief is that in this incarnation, in this physical reality, it's just a small bit of our bigger soul that exists in some other dimension, or the dimension of heaven, if you will. And that, like I said, there's just a small little bit of that soul that goes into each incarnation, like the ones we're living now. And Kim wondered if it was possible for a person to actually be living like multiple incarnations at the same time. If our soul is really big, for example, is it possible that a little chunk of me is living out this early 1900s American life at the same time as I'm living this 21st century American life. And that that's a bit of a contradiction because we're talking about something that's in the past history of, you know, time, well, of the world, of everything. I mean, 100 years ago is 100 years ago, but supposedly time doesn't work exactly the same in the realm of spirit. It doesn't have the same. Well, I hear different psychics say different things. You know, Sterling Psychic Medium says that time travels at the speed of light, which is kind of like all time happens at the same time kind of notion, which we can't really grasp from here, but I would say that it must be different on the other side, and that perhaps we are able to perceive very far in the past and very far into the future all at the same time, and it doesn't feel like a contradiction. But the only way to experience life in 3D with these physical bodies at this vibrational level is to, you know, in a chronological order. So I don't really know. I'm not sure anybody totally really could say for sure. But it was interesting that Kim speculated on that because I wasn't thinking along those lines necessarily. And I have heard some psychics say that you really don't live more than one incarnation at a time. In fact, I think even Sterling has said that. But maybe it also depends on how you look at it. So, in other words, I don't know. I totally don't know. But it's an interesting thought. And, I mean, why not? Why not? Kim did say that one time, I don't want to talk too much and, like, reveal everything about our conversation because, I mean, it was a personal thing, but I mean, this is not so personal. But Kim was talking about one funeral that she went to one time where immediately upon entering the church, she felt the soul of the person who had passed filling the whole church, like as if that person were like personally touching everyone who had come to the service, which I thought was kind of like awesome and powerful. And she said that's how big this person's soul was. And then I was thinking that then we were speculating that maybe everybody's soul is really that big. And truly, like, this is just the little slice it's in the bodies we're in now. So again, it's just food for thought. It's not definite anything. But when she said that, I don't know. I just like the thought of it. I mean, who wouldn't want to think of the soul as this beautiful, grand, huge thing? I mean, being human is quite an experience. It's got a ton of highs and a ton of lows. And Kim and other psychics have said before that it's one of the harder schools in the universe. And that's why people seek it. That we experience such contrasts in emotion, both positive and negative, both the most loving and the most unloving or fearful. That if you're looking to grow, then this would be a good place to grow in, because you're gonna feel and see so much. And God knows, in my 50-ish years, I feel like I've seen a whole heck of a lot, and the world has seen a whole heck of a lot, and a lot of it's pretty new. I mean, everything that a lot of it I wrote about 10 years ago in my first book. In God Laughs at Dirty Jokes, I wrote a lot about where technology might be taking us. You know, I speculated a lot about AI possibilities in that book. And it's funny because some of the articles that I read now about talking about AI are things I thought about 10 years ago and wrote about 10 years ago. So to me, sorry, I got a text. So to me, I don't mean to say that they feel like old hat when I read them now, but my mind's already kind of thinking of other things down the road, because that's sort of my nature. I just very inquisitive, forward-looking, curious always about what's coming around the corner for, I mean, out of pure curiosity, but also for self-preservation, because I feel like an ability to intuit aspects of what might be coming in the future helps you kind of plan for that future, even though you don't know for sure that things are coming to pass. But it's good to think a little bit about, like, hey, if the world turns out this way, or if the world goes this way, or if the country goes this way, what will I do? What will, what will my sort of plan be? And then always to be adaptable, because we really don't control anything. We control so little. So you got to go with the waves sometimes, but it's still good to know what waves might be out there. Does that metaphor work? Not sure. Hopefully you know what I mean. But yeah, so like AI, but that was leading me to some other point that's already eluding me. I hate when that happens. Future, the large soul, dreaming. Well, I had a segue in mind and then it went away, but I'll make the segue anyway. Oh, I know. It was about talking about Earth as like a school of learning, like a high-end school of learning. If you watched one of my recent dreams where I talk about like climbing that tower, which was like a school of learning, like kind of like a Harvard, and reaching near the top and like getting led into what they called the foundation in the dream, which may or may not be like a realm of any, it may or may not be a real realm. It was more like a metaphor in the dream, but the foundation was sort of like a place of knowledge. When you're seeking knowledge and you reach a certain level, then maybe sometimes you reach the foundation. Anyway, does this sound familiar? If it doesn't, I'm sorry. You could jump back and check out that video. But what I'm getting at is, I had another dream in which it seemed like the advanced beings. Man, my phone is blown up. Where it seemed like the advanced beings in the dream were almost like nerdy scientists slash philosophers. So in this most recent dream, I dreamt like almost like it was a room, like a faculty room at a institution of higher learning, with books everywhere, and like almost like maybe a room you'd imagine Einstein hanging out in at a university. Very old school, studious looking room. And the people in the room were time tinkerers. So they were in some other realm. They were not in an earthly realm. They were in like a spiritual realm. And one guy even kind of looked a little like Einstein. He was older. And they oversaw, they in the dream that I had, they were the people who were in charge of Incarnation. And they had, I wrote it down. I want to kind of read it the way I wrote it because I captured it well. These glasses are ridiculous. These are just cheap, dollar store magnifiers, because I have to go to the optometrist next week. My near vision's just turning to crap. Anyway, that is it. Let's see. Where's the note? Oh, shoot. Damn it. Okay, so the dream included a group of time tinkerers who were overseeing Incarnation. They had a device like a wheel to gauge where people would go into a timeline. So they had this mechanical device in front of them that was, a little bigger than my head. And it was kind of like, it was just circular, and it maybe like had little holes or dials in it. And almost somewhat clock-like, but no numbers on it. And it occurred to me in the dream that these time tinkerers, they could place beings into this time wheel, and that would be like when a person would be born. Okay? And yeah, so where people go into the timeline. Oh, and this group of people in this dream were talking about a person who had attempted a life of extreme challenges in order to see if they could overcome the challenges and achieve what like very few people had ever achieved. And it seemed like it was someone in the sciences. It almost reminded me of like what I think of when I think of Nikola Tesla, who did a lot of experiments with electricity, early 1900s, if I'm not mistaken, or late 1800s. And he, I don't know a ton about Tesla. I just know that he was like super altruistic. He had a fascination with electrical current. Here in this area, in the Buffalo area, he contributed to the building of the hydroelectric facility at Niagara Falls to capture, water flow and turn it into energy, an energy source. And I know that he had a dream of like creating these energy towers that would essentially emit free energy into the air. He had this whole concept that kind of predates wireless by 100 years. And he was really just a sort of tinkerer and an inventor, and he wasn't really a particularly savvy businessman. So I think there were some of the business titans of the time got him into deals that paid him but didn't make him a millionaire like it made them millionaires, because he didn't really care. He was more interested in how can we, he probably was an idealist in some sense. He wanted to see if there could be free energy for everybody. But of course, business interests are always going to stand between free anything and the general public if they can make some money off of it instead. As that's just how capitalism works. And anyway, so I imagine that the time tinkers were talking about a person like that, and they were pondering whether this person could achieve everything they wanted to achieve. And from the way they were talking, it wasn't clear if this sort of like Tesla-like person had succeeded in achieving all their goals in the single incarnation. But what happened was this person's life must have been over or nearly over, and they were getting ready the time tinkers were getting ready to actually put this person back through the machinery of incarnation, to put them back into like the time wheel so that they would be reborn again. But they had the person who was about to be born again, who had been the scientist type person, sort of kept all of that. They were born with all of that knowledge that they had acquired in the previous life. It was sort of built into their DNA, if you will. And so the time tinkerers put the person back into the little machine that spits them out into the universe where they're born on this planet. And then I was able to kind of see this person as a boy again, a new child with parents. And the parents of this Tesla scientist child got them a gift for their bedroom that was like a miniature version of the mystical time clock that the time tinkerers had. And it kind of gave me the heebie-jeebie willies when I saw it, because like it was more like one you could hold in your hand, and the child was marveling at this technology, and like almost like recognized his own purpose in looking at this little machine that was gifted to him. And he said, and it was like something that was meant for his nightstand. And when he saw the little machine, he said, I want my whole room to be like this, my whole bedroom. And then I was kind of imagining a future for this person where the entire bedroom gets filled with inventions that are like this device. And so in some sense, this person who may not have achieved all their goals in their first incarnation as a brilliant scientist type, they had returned to continue their journey in a new life, and they were immediately inspired from childhood, because all that they were from their previous life was sort of already baked into their cake, if you will. And it was just kind of cool. And I told Kim about this dream, and she said, "Your dreams are so weird." She always says that to me. Your dreams are so weird. Not in a judgy way, but she said, like, because your dreams kind of have a beginning, middle, and end. She said they're kind of cinematic, and I was like, "Oh, cinematic. That's really the right word for it," because a lot of my dreams are like that. They don't always have like a clear, super clear narrative, but they do often seem to like occur over time. Like, and I guess what I take from that dream is a few things. I mean, well, one, the mysterious nature of incarnation, and how that all might work. I mean, I could kind of imagine there being sort of like an incarnation committee on the other side. I mean, I don't. It would have to be maybe pretty big for the millions, billions of souls that are born here and other places. But regardless of that, it seemed to me maybe part of the message of the dream, if it needs to have a message, was that maybe we don't always achieve every goal that we have in one lifetime. You know, I have certain artistic goals that I would like to reach. Like, I've reached some, but not all of my artistic goals as a creative person, and I don't like the thought of needing another lifetime to like get closer to, say, a more ultimate goal. But maybe that's how it would be. Like, maybe I'll get so far in this life, and then the experiences of this life could lead to another incarnation in which the experiences I've accumulated, the knowledge that I've accumulated and experiences in this life could be useful as a starting point for another completely different lifetime. So I don't know if that dream was meant for me specifically, or if it was just sort of a general wacky space cosmic dream, as I often have them. If you watch my channel regularly, you know. So let's see, 22 minutes. All right, I don't want to go too long. Let's see, there was another dream that was kind of interesting too. Let's see, I think I wrote that down as well. That is it. Oh, and what was interesting about like that room of sort of Time Lord nerds was, like I said, when I was in the previous dream I talked about, where I climbed the sort of like school of knowledge, and then I got to a really high level and I had to climb out on the roof to get to like an even higher level. And there were, you might remember me saying there were like cosmic nerds, like time, there was cosmic nerds hanging out on the roof, like the people who had achieved a high degree of learning about spiritual matters in their time on Earth were kind of like weird. They were kind of weird. They were kind of weirdos because they had gone down their own individualized paths seeking knowledge, and they were kind of geeky. So they were kind of like cosmic geeks, and the timekeepers in that dream were like that, which I may have said already. So if I'm repeating myself, sorry. Let's see. Oh yeah. So I also wrote about the dream that I just described. That essentially our lives we were just avatars. Every incarnation is just like an avatar. It's not that important if we don't get everything we want in one incarnation, even though that's hard to embrace sometimes. Let's see. Reborn. Oh yeah, this dream was interesting. I've had many, many dreams. Pardon me, itchy nose. Many, many dreams where I see what look like projections on the sky, like, and sometimes they're alien invasion kind of dreams. This is really hard to describe. I'll look up in the sky and it'll be the low sky. It'll be like maybe the sky just above the trees or the lowest clouds, and I'll see what looks like a spaceship maybe. But I'll have an impression in my mind that it's like a projection of a spaceship. like almost not like a real one, it looks fake. And then other times I'll look at the sky and the objects in the sky, like the stars, seem to be labeled, like almost like they have those apps for your phone where you can hold them up to the sky and it'll tell you like what, to put like Jupiter next to Jupiter in the sky, and you line up your phone with it and it'll tell you what the other planets and all the stars are around it. Sometimes I have dreams where I look at the sky and everything is labeled. It's really goofy. And again, it looks like it's projected onto the sky. And that makes me think of a few different things, but I remember within the last couple years, I don't remember if it was Coca-Cola or some other major company, corporation, wanted to project their logo onto the moon as an advertising stunt. I don't know if that's actually possible. Like they wanted to use some kind of maybe like laser to actually project from Earth the Coca-Cola logo over the moon, which would be so tacky, but so tacky, they would love to do it because it would get so much attention and people would definitely hey, let's go look at the Coke sign on the full moon, and which is the whole point of advertising, make you look, put their brand in your head. That's what they're trying to do all the time, and they're trying to find new ways to do it. That's the essence of advertising. So as a stunt, I'm sure that some company would love to do it, but it didn't come off, or maybe it was only a joke. I just can't remember. If anybody remembers and knows, then you want to mention in the comments, please do. But anyway, I can imagine that there may come a time when it will be not difficult to project things like imagery onto, say, the clouds or the sky. Will have some kind of technology, projection technology, that could do that, where they could actually put advertising in the sky, which God willing, we just won't ever allow that, but who knows? Yeah, wherever a buck can be made. It would be awful to think of going out stargazing or going out to the full moon and you got to look at a fucking Nike logo on the moon, that's just wrong. But yet we've already polluted our view with all of the light pollution, with all of the, the lights of cities that blocks the stars. And now they're saying that some of Elon Musk's stupid satellites are going to be so bright that they might look like stars, from the ground. It'll be hard to tell whether some of his newer satellites are stars or satellites, which is gross. Commercializing the natural beauty of the sky, the view of the sky. But technology marches on. So those are all my tangents to set up this dream. Yeah, tangent man. So in the dream, I've had multiple dreams of projections on the sky already, which I know is unusual just conceptually. But in this latest dream, I'll just read it straight off here and then I'll try to maybe elaborate. Individual people, it was nighttime in the dream, and people had their own projection boxes in front of their houses. Literally little wooden boxes that opened up, and you could project it was almost like Christmas decorations, except an advanced form of Christmas decorations. So when the dream began, one of my neighbors down the street had a way of projecting a Santa Claus with his reindeer going across the sky in 3D, but as some kind of laser projection from this little laser box on the ground in front of their house. And of course there has to be a weirdo part to it. I mean, it's already weird, but so I'm looking down the street and I see Santa Claus and his reindeer, and it looks so real that I'm for a split second, I'm thinking, holy crap, Santa's real. And then I realize it's coming from one of these projection boxes, which everybody has now. So this must be some future potential technology, maybe, or not really. But then as I'm watching Santa and the sleighs go across, an alien ship is right like above Santa and like kind of like interrupts Santa's flight plan. But then I realized the alien ship is part of the projection too. So it's kind of like a joke, like you see the Santa, maybe it's on repeat on a loop. You see Santa and the sleighs and the Santa and the reindeer coming up, and then the alien ship like kind of comes above them and they stop, and then maybe the loop keeps playing. I'm not sure, but I could see looking out on the block. It was pretty dark, and I could see blocks over that there were these projections like near and far. And my exact next door neighbor to my left had a projection box on his or her front lawn, so that when I like peered to the side, I could see the box itself was open. The lid was open, like double doors, and they had a projection that went straight up. It was like looking at a column of almost like emoji type shapes, like stars and diamonds and circles and rectangles, like colorful stacked shapes. Like a playful stack of shapes. I don't know if they were turning or if they were just kind of like in the air, but it was like, and when the box opened, it shot up, and it was like, a couple stories high, and it just was kind of neat. It was just eye candy, again, like a decoration. And then I realized that it was late at night, so it was maybe like, let's say it was 10 or maybe it was 11, and there must have been a local law that you can only have your projection box open until 10 or 11 p.m. So then all of the projections were shutting down at the exact same time, like on the hour. And when I looked over to my neighbors, I saw the image kind of collapse into the box, but the box lid kind of like malfunctioned. It didn't close properly, so it's kind of like clomp, 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 clomp. And the guy next door, I could catch him out of the corner of my eye, was like, what's going on with this box? So he's like fiddling with his box. But it was funny because I could hear, that the box didn't close properly and he's messing with it. So I don't know what that's about at all. I have no idea what that's about. But it was definitely entertaining. Let's see if there's anything more here. Yeah, my next door neighbor had a straight vertical row of playful geometric shape, like balls, boxes, crescent moons, and stars. When his projection collapsed back into the box, the lid didn't close properly. It was slightly off center, so he was looking at it like he would have to close it himself. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I had another levitation dream too. And then I had a levitation dream where someone was like kind of messing with me. Like I was lying down and like somebody was like, "Oh, you want to levitate?" So then they like pulled my one leg straight up into the air. So like I'm hanging there with my left leg in the air. And, "Oh, you want to levitate?" And then like they're pulling on my right leg, and my right leg is also up in the air. And my left and right leg are both up in the air, and I'm like hanging there. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd like to levitate, but like not like this." So then I was trying to get control of the levitation, but it was all awkward. Like I was flapping around, like trying to learn how to levitate. Many levitation dreams I've had, so don't know what that's about. Sterling Psychic Medium claims there are, what does he claim? I don't know if he says it's human beings or human alien hybrids. Some of them can actually levitate. Don't quote me on that one. I feel like I've heard him say that. I don't believe that I can actually levitate, but I really wish I could. That'd be awesome. So I dream about it a lot. So whatever that means. There was that dream. So I had a goofball spirit who was playing around with me. And then that reminds me of something else Sterling said in his last Sunday show, if you happen to watch it. A woman wrote to him asking about an experience she had at an airport. She said that when she went through the TSA scanners, they kept checking her or wanting her or making her go through the scanner because they were seeing something that they didn't understand. And it was getting frustrating because the woman was wondering what was going on. So she said to the TSA screener, what are you looking at? Or what are you looking for? Or what are you looking at? And the TSA screener said, I wish I knew. And then showed her the scan of herself. And in the scan, there was a big, like, white, glowy kind of ball, like big around her head. And then there was one somewhere, like, I think in her chest. And so she asked Sterling, like, what was that? What were those objects that we saw on the scans? And eventually the TSA person let the person through. They couldn't identify what they were seeing in the scan, but they couldn't they didn't have reason to keep them from going on their flight. But it was a mystery. And so Sterling said he checked with his guides and said that those were balls of healing energy that had been sent to this person, this woman, to help her heal from an injury of some kind. Like, it may have been something she had prayed about. And so, like, literally the energy that had been sent to her body to help her heal by angelic forces, supposedly, was actually visible on the scanner, which is really wild, I think. And it also matches other things that I've seen and heard about, orbs, like Carrie, if you've watched her videos, you've seen light orbs in her videos, which seem to represent departed spirits and even pets. And it's there is a video on my channel, if you dig back, when my last cat, Gabe, died last summer before I got Shay. I was pretty heartbroken, and Kim offered to try to call in Gabe's energy after he had passed, maybe a couple months after he had passed. And she sent me a small video of it, like a 10-second video. And she's like, Gabe, could you come forth? And in a darkened room at Kim's house, the light in her corner of her room goes on first, like at the back of the room. And then the TV pops on. And then this little light orb comes right up to the camera in playful circles, plus some other ones, because I had another cat that passed too, years before Gabe, as if it was part of like a little orb gang. And she's like, oh, that's Gabe. And she's done this with her own pets too, and with other people's pets. And then, of course, Kim has several videos where you can see like light orbs all around her, which are often her spirit guides when she's doing readings, and also maybe associated spirits who may be protectors. They may be guards of a kind, protective energies. But there are a few videos where she's got what seem like dozens or hundreds of orbs. So that's light energy, with the belief that our souls are balls, energy, light. Essentially, when we die, the essence of us goes on. It is energy, and since it's energy, with the right kind of equipment, that's energy we might be able to detect one day with our machines. Humanity, our technology may end up confirming some of our spiritual ideas by being able to detect these energies that are, in my belief, absolutely real. So like the woman with the TSA scanner, they must have, the scanners must be sufficiently sensitive that they picked up whatever it was that was in her body that was sent as healing energy to her by her angel team. So when we pray, I've been practicing a new visualization. When we pray and we send people positive energy, that really can have a strong effect. I'm not saying that it could necessarily heal someone of a major illness, but it certainly couldn't hurt. And who knows how powerful we are? Who knows how far we could take it? We won't probably get an answer on that. But lately, I have a friend who's been having some kidney issues, and so I have been doing a visualization where I'm sending loving light and love, light, and healing to her kidneys. And kidney stones are something that she gets often, and they're very painful. I've not had them, but I had another friend years ago who had them and didn't have it was very unpleasant experiences with them. So I was imagining I've been doing a visualization for a couple of days of like holding a sword of flame, but the flame is healing, love, and light. And like, you know how you can pass your finger through a flame real quick and you don't feel anything because you and I am imagining like taking this sword of light, but it's like a loving sword. It's not a destructive sword. And literally like sort of like passing it into her body and like trying to cut that kidney stone with a sword of pure flame, like healing, loving light flame. Like seeing if I can like kind of like a ninja slice that sucker. Can that work as a visualization? Because the visualization is meant is delivered in a loving way. It's not an angry energy. There's no anger. It's just a sort of righteous energy. It's like this pure flaming sword. The way the flame cauterizes a wound, or the purity of flame. Just get right in on that kidney stone and chop that sucker into little bits. So I told her about the visualization. I told my friend, and she thought it was interesting, and she said she has felt a little better the last couple days. She's still going to need a surgery, almost definitely, but if I can be of any help, if it why not try, and why not make the visualization personal to like how we like to think of delivering energy. Like I've prayed before for other people, and I may have mentioned previously one time that I prayed for my mom when she wasn't feeling really good, and she woke up in the middle of the night like with the feeling of like warmth all around her, like warm energy. And it had been an evening where I had really sort of tried really deliberately to send that energy, that positivity. So who knows how powerful we can be. I think the intent is probably more important than anything, and not sort of any kind of keeping any ideas of self-aggrandizement with those wishes down. Keep the ego part down. Keep the loving, healing part up. So yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. I like that flaming sword. I like the idea. Of a flaming sword of light. And like I feel like I've heard this when they talk about angels, like with their flaming swords, and like the sword of truth. There's some saying the sword of truth pierces the crown of lies. I think it's from tarot. That like truth as a light does pierce darkness. And it would be nice to think too that angels might be able to clear gooey or goofy or not positive energy this way. Like what if there was, say, like a dark cloud of energy, and a big old kick-ass 25-foot tall light angel just had a sword and just like friggin' cleaved that cloud of musty, dusty, old, crappy energy out. They just chopped it up, just obliterated it with a flaming sword of light, and scattered it, and sort of returned it to a better state. They purified it. That's my thought with that flame. So, that's a ramble. Hope you found it interesting. Comments welcome as usual. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to talk to you soon. Okay, be well. Bye.